Everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I have another great blues person for you to listen in on here. His name is Max Hightower, and he's an amazing multi-instrumentalist, especially especially with a harmonica. But he plays guitar, he plays piano, and man, when I was turned on to this album, I thought I got to talk to him, and I got to. And he is amazing. Great guy, great musician, loves the blues, and you're going to love this album called Nothin But The Truth. And boy, when he talks, you feel like that's exactly what you're getting, whether it's the origins of the songs, how the album came together, you name it, he's talking nothing but the truth. And this album is a must have for your collection, and that too is nothing but the truth. So, without any further ado, here's my first interview, and I hope I have a ton more in the future with bluesman Max Hightower. And would you mind, please? I always ask this, would you hit like? Would you subscribe to this channel, whatever you're watching or listening to this on? And would you mind sharing it with your friends, especially those who love the blues? Would you? It'd help us out a lot and it won't cost you a thing. So until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hello,
Hey Randy, can
Max.
you hear me? Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing super. How about yourself?
No, I'm doing great. Got me a cup of coffee. I'm good.
Well, I got my unsweet tea.
Well, you ain't in the South, are you?
Yeah, well, I was born here, but I was raised in Arizona, so it beat the sweet out of me, and I stuck with unsweet ever since.
Yeah,
So,
I like that. That sounds like a song.
yeah, well, there you go. You've got my permission to use it. But so you're where it now over in South Carolina?
Yeah, yes, sir. In South Carolina,
All
Greenville,
right.
South.
Oh, not far at all. I'm just on the other side of the mountain from you. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, you're up in
I'm
what, Virginia?
no, I'm in Sevierville,
Okay.
Tennessee,
Yeah,
Smoky Mountains.
you're not too far.
So. I know a lot of people in Anderson, just a little below you there. So, but were you impacted by the hurricanes at all?
Um, yeah, it knocked us out. We was out for a week or so, no power, but
Mm.
that was nothing compared to what they got up in Asheville. So I'm not complaining at all.
No, I hear
You
you.
know,
Yeah, that interstate kind of got wiped out near me here too, and but we didn't even get a flooded ditch here, so I can't complain at all. But it's just hate it for those people and trying to point people in the right direction to they want to give and such. They really need it over there. They really do. So but
yeah,
well, hey man,
I was really the people. We went up there a few times and took some stuff and dropped it off, and it was just amazing how the community pulled together. And they were taking care of each other, and it was so one guy we talked to, he was working 18 hours a day just making runs back and forth up the mountain. So
wow.
yeah,
And
yeah.
from what I was hearing from some friends of mine, there's just some areas there that are, I mean, they're just now making them kind of accessible and such. And it's like, what the heck? I will say this, and this is not a party specific comment because I know our government and the word efficiency almost never um, is found in the same sentence.
Um,
But regardless of the party, I mean, we pay enough in taxes. Dadgummit, we should be taking care of the people there. California with these fires, let's fix some problems too, but
that's
doggone it,
right.
let's take care of our people.
That's right. I'm with you 100%.
So, well, hey, I'm glad you're taking the time to chat, man. I heard your new album and told Mark, I mean, I wanted to talk to you, and I'm glad you were available. So thanks for taking the time. And for those the viewers and listeners, this will go out on the podcast as well as on out on video. Tell people about yourself. How long you been in the business? What all you play? Who you've played with? And then we'll get into this great new album of yours.
Um, I don't know. I kind of break it down. I mean, I've been doing it for uh, I don't know, probably 35, 36 years. Ever since I was like 12 years old. I just did. When I heard that first Muddy Mississippi Waters live cassette tape, that was it for
Hmm.
me, and that was kind of the start. And I heard Muddy playing that slide. I didn't even know what a slide guitar was. My grandmother, she played, had a gospel group back when she was younger, and she still had her old
Wow.
1950 Silvertone. And I told her I want to learn play guitar. So she pulled that thing out from under the bed. I didn't even know she had it. And but what I didn't know, because I never had a guitar lesson, is that the neck wasn't screwed on good, so it was a little warped, and it had three rusted strings from the 50s, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't play. Uh, so after I got frustrated, I said, "Well, what's this other sound?" That was James Cotton playing on that, and of course, it didn't sound like Charlie McCoy or somebody like that. It was amplified and distorted and aggressive. And she said, "I think it's a harmonica." And so she went out and bought me a C harmonica. And luckily,
Wow.
about every song on that album was in the key of G. So I just kind of picked up on it.
Hmm.
And then from that point, I just, it's one of them things. Once that bug, once you find, what you want to do, you just go. And man, I was sneaking out of the house when I was, 13, 14 years old, and getting a taxi and hitting the bars and playing as much as I could. And I really haven't
Wow.
stopped.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I just from that point on, around here there was a lot of country music, but then I went to Houston and I got a chance to play with, some guys you maybe never heard of, Frank Savalto, Big Roger Collins, and some guys like that, and um, just and then I came back home, and then years later I hooked up with Mac, and we've been together for 20 years, and you know
Wow.
and we've seen a lot and played with a lot of great play. I think one of the greatest things was standing on stage with Hubert Sumlin. I didn't even
Wow.
want to play. I just kind of stood there
Going,
and listened to him play. I mean, what do you
to
do?
come over and wipe the drool off your mouth, right? So,
Oh man, it was just amazing. He was just an angel. He was just I don't. He was definitely just an angel. That's all I can
yeah.
say.
Now, when you just for people that hear this, I'll mention it in the intro later when I dub that in, but tell people who you're referring to when you say Mac.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's Mac Arnold. Mac Arnold. He
Yep.
played bass with Muddy Waters and
Right.
Johnny Hooker, Otis Spann, just a whole slew of them. And he's on a lot of
Hmm.
those old records. The Live at the Whiskey a Go Go with with Johnny Hooker, and I think there was a Muddy Waters unissued that was released. He's on that, and so yeah, that's I figure everybody knows who Mac is. You got to throw
That's
the
right.
Arnold on the last of it, right? They,
That's right. That's
yeah.
almost like saying Elvis, right? Well, but you don't, I mean, to try to kind of segue into this album, you don't play just the harmonica anymore. You play other instruments as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I started. I finally got me a guitar with all the strings on it, and yeah, but I didn't know. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. I just kept messing around, and I figured out. I think somebody showed me what a G chord. Now, actually, a guy named Mickey Fowler. He you probably don't know who he is, but he's kind of a local legend, country guy. Um, and he showed me my first chord, and it was a G chord. He showed me like C and D and the whole thing, but all I remember was that G, and I just messed around with that G, and then I started figuring out other things, and then later, my aunt, she had a big upright piano, and she just wanted it moved. I said, "Well, I'll take it," and you find out who your friends are, and yeah. Well, yeah, I got that thing moved, and I started figuring out. So, well, this is a G chord, this is a C chord, and I just translated the piano. And as time went on, basically what happened was I just wanted to play harmonica, really, but um, I would play in some bands, and you just couldn't play it. harmonica on every song just wasn't working, and you were kind of
Right.
expendable in a sense. So I just started learning. Plus, the piano and the guitar, it helped me in writing, writing music. So, you know,
Hmm.
and then the probably the best thing is, and I got is I found out I, during COVID, um, we wasn't playing at all. There was no money coming in, no unemployment, no nothing. Just and I started getting calls for just just a solo thing, and I was like, well, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't really do solo, but I'm gonna figure it out. And so I just started doing solo stuff, and the one funny thing I will tell you this, the little neck brace that you see Neil
Hmm.
Young and those guys use. Well, I was
Dylan.
doing a gig
Yeah.
and I said, well, I can play harmonica and guitar at the same time. And I had that thing on, and I'm trying to play, and and as I'm doing it, the whole neck brace shifted with me. It was shifting like this, and then it would shift back and forth. And I just had to stop the song and apologize to everybody. I took it off. I just threw it away. I never play use it again. Um, but yeah. So it was it was a good thing, just to get out there and do the solo stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you you
Yeah.
you grow a lot. It's amazing what you can
Well,
do when you have to do it.
well, I've heard that a lot. I was doing a ton of interviews during the pandemic, and and then of course after, and the pandemic I think was in some ways a blessing in disguise to artists like yourself because it gave you the, excuse me, gave you the time to do, to create, to learn, to branch out. And I think that, I think you're benefiting from that experience, and I know others have. And
Mhm.
that's, did you get a lot of songwriting done during that time?
I've always written. It's just one of those things. It's like it's almost a ritual. It's like you wake up and your brain's fresh. You don't even turn your phone on. You grab a cup of coffee, pick up the guitar, and you just see what happens. And that's where I do most of my writing. So I don't
Oh,
know. There's something about the morning time.
yeah.
So
So,
yeah, but I'm
so
always
te
writing. Yeah.
So I got to tell you my harmonica story as far as people interviewed and such. When I hadn't had Boomerocity up very long at all, I interviewed Sam Andrew from Big Brother and the Holding Company, Janis Joplin's first
Mhm.
band, and the lady that was part of the kind of a acting publicist at the time. She kept telling me, you know, you ought to interview Buffalo Norton. I know
Oh yeah.
him. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll get around to it. And I mean, a few months, this is in 2009. And like, I kept kind of putting it off because I was working on other things. And the next thing I know, he's gone. It's
Yeah.
like, lesson learned, man. I had my chance to talk to Buffalo Norton, Steve Miller
Mhm.
Band and all that. And so that's why I jump at chances now. If I can, I will. But gosh, there's something about that. What do you think it is about harmonicas that reel people in? Because it's different than any other instrument. You can't fake it really. It either is or it isn't, right? So what do you think it is that hooks people on it?
Well, I think for one thing, if somebody's playing a saxophone, you're seeing them, you're seeing their fingers, you're seeing all this happening. With a guitar, you're seeing their fingers, and the piano, you always see something happening. But with a harmonica, it's like
It's
what's going on
secret.
in there? What's happening? What? It's like, is it magic? But it is. It's all these things that are happening in your chest and your belly and your throat muscles, and it's just people don't see it, and it's kind of, I ain't gonna say it's hard to teach, but if I get people say, hey, give me a lesson, I mean, I'm like, or lessons, and I'm like, no, you just need, let's sit down for about 45 minutes, 30 minutes, and I can tell you everything that you need to know, and then the rest of it you're on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's just one of those. I don't know. So and plus it's one of those instruments where you most people look at it as a toy, you know. And then when you pull it out and you actually start playing it, they're like, whoa, you know. So and it's kind of and it's other than I know you don't hear a lot of blues like on mainstream, like say country music or a lot of the rock and roll. Um, but Willie Nelson always had Mickey Raphael, which to me he's one of
Right.
the greatest out there. Period. And I would, I'm really surprised that we don't hear more harmonica in some country music and rock and roll for
Yeah.
that matter.
And rock and roll, yeah. I mean, you get Mick Jagger doing it from time. Well, there was a Christian artist. I didn't have this written down, but I was going to see if you heard of him. Now that it pops into mind because I have this image, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But have you ever heard of Daryl Mansfield?
I've heard the name, but I'm not that familiar with him.
I was dabbling in Christian concert promoting way back when I'm younger than you are, or when I was younger than you are now. And he comes out on stage. It was at the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's got this belt on. And he
Yeah,
looked like a daggum gunslinger, man, because it just
yeah,
had all these harmonicas in it. And I was like,
yeah.
what the heck, you know?
Been there, done
And
that.
yeah, he just was slinging those babies out and all over those things, man. It was wonderful. But so let's get to this album. I love it. Tell me about how this album came about, how long it took you to put it together, that kind of thing.
Um, oh, how'd it come about? Like again, I'm always writing, and I think one of the first songs that I had and things started kind of building off of that was "It's on Me," and I had written that song, and it was just kind of a fun rendition of what I thought women wanted. And so, of course, I'm thinking like they want fast cars and money and hot tub with wings and flight to Paris and be your king and all that. It was just exaggerated, of course. And so then I read the lyrics to my girlfriend, and when she got done, I got like nothing. I didn't hear, hey, that's a great song or anything. And I said, well, she said, is that so? That's what you think we want? I'm like, well, it's just a song. She said, well, you left out a few things. And I was like what? And she said, well, um, you know, tequila and rum and chocolate in a box, shoes of every color with 100 matching socks, sweet talk, long walls, jewelry, silk and lace, and mirrors all around so I can see my pretty face. That ain't exactly how she said it, but it was, she would give me all these things, and then I pieced it together. So she definitely got writing credit on that one. but that
Better.
was kind of, yeah, I know, right? But that was and then I would write these little songs. Sometimes it'd be about her or something I seen. And I like the fact that it was not a serious song because I've written a lot of serious songs and sad songs and that kind of thing. And I enjoyed writing that one. And so I just kind of stayed in that groove. And then I
Hmm.
started, writing stuff like Double Bubble. That's just a fun song. And again, I'm exaggerating. And then Here She Comes. That's just a girl walks into a bar and and just how what happens in the room, especially if you're standing from the stage. And actually, when I wrote that one, it's kind of weird because it kind of wrote it as a scat. Because before this, the guys that I put together, I actually was working with a stand up bass player and a jazz drummer. And I was kind of working on these songs at first, and then I mean, I could go down the whole list, but as you listen to the songs, you'll notice they're all kind of, there's kind of fun songs.
Hmm.
There's nothing real, and it kind of goes back to the song "I Ain't Lying," and the idea behind that song. I had an uncle, through marriage. They called him Gopher, and Gopher, he's one of these guys. He never worked a day in his life. I don't think, as far as I know, but he always had a pocket full of money, snakeskin boots, some
Woo.
old wore out blue jeans, a Harley Davidson coat, John Deere hat, and about 10 or 20 gold chains on his neck and rings on every finger. And he was always chewing on a cigar. And everything he said, he would always exaggerate. And I don't know. And when he would say something, he would say, "I ain't lying, I ain't lying." And he'd say it like 3 or 4 times, and you knew he was lying. When he says he ain't lying, he's lying. So when I started writing this song, I took the way he would tell a story and exaggerate it to the point where it's just, out of control. And then I would throw, I ain't lying in there. And so that's where the Nothin But The Truth, because I say that in there. And that's that's why I didn't name the album after a song. I took a little phrase out of there because it kind of sums up the whole thing, with the Nothing But The Truth. I ain't lying. And so anyway, I don't know.
How long? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there's I don't know. It was one of those songs where you're writing and you actually laugh at yourself. If I'm sitting there writing something, I just fall out like there's nobody around, just me, and I'm laughing. I'm like, and you just keep going with it. It was fun to do that and I'm not knocking, but there's a lot of sad songs and tear jerkers and stuff that just makes you want to go and get sit in the corner and cry. But I didn't want to. I don't know. I wasn't in that zone. I just
Yeah.
So, but that's a good thing.
Hey, that's right. It's a different side of the blues. How long did it take you to record this?
Well, I had talked to Jon Atkinson, Big Jon, up in Bristol, and then I was gonna do it up there, but then he moved to New Orleans, so it's taking a little longer. And but I went down there and I recorded. I wanted to get a feel for it and record a few songs, and it went really well. And he does everything old school, reel to reel and the old RCA mics, and so. But then I came back home and a little time was going by, and I had written a few more songs, and I said, well, instead of going down there, because I wanted to work with the guys. Let me back up a little bit. I have worked with several different people with these songs, and I was going more in the jazz direction at first, and I had a gig where I had literally forgot about it, and I had nobody booked, to play with me. And so I called up some friends that I hadn't played with in a while, and then Brandon Phelps, the drummer, and he said call Fleetwood. So then Fleet was the bass player. Called up Fleetwood, and they basically done the show with they didn't really know the songs. But they're playing them, and they're playing them a little more funky. They're putting something on it that wasn't there before, and people were they're really digging the songs. And I said, man, this they're fun songs, and they're putting a certain thing on it. And anyway, I said, man, I need to record with these guys. So we started rehearsing them and all, and we went into a few studios, and I've been in a lot of studios, but we get in there, and I wanted to record. Like, you remember the old Johnny Winters stuff he did at Blue Sky? He did the Hard Again with Muddy Waters, and it's a great article. They re-released that, and Bob Mergolan, he wrote a great article about that recording session, and it was basically how Muddy didn't want headphones. They set up a amplifier, and he just sang, so nobody had headphones on. They had a monitor, was the amplifier, and it was all recorded live, and they had like microphones in the ceiling, and anyway, so that was the approach I wanted to take. But when I went to go in the studio, they would say things like, well, you were getting too much bleed over, so you're gonna have to overdub the vocals. And then one time this was it for me, they were complaining about the timing, because the timing was, if you're having fun and the timing speeds up, I don't care. Just record the song. I just want to capture what happens. But they want everything to be exactly right. And I just told them, I said, I can't do this. This is not going to work. So that's when I called Jon up. I said, Jon, we're coming back, man. So me and Fleetwood and Brandon Phelps, we packed it up, and we went down to New Orleans and hooked up with Jon, and Jon brought in some horns and piano, and man, it's crazy because you have this plan and this mindset of how everything is going to go. But when we got down there, it was a game changer because things were happening that I didn't anticipate, and it was all good because you have an idea for a song, but when everybody gets together and it starts happening in a live situation, it could go anywhere. And
Yeah.
so and that's kind of what happened, and I don't know that I can record any other way now. So it was just a lot of fun. We had a blast, and Jon is that guy that keeps it real. He there was I asked him one time when we first started, he was doing something with the mics, and I said, man, what if I need to redo the vocals or something, and he said, just sing it right, just get it right. So pretty much yeah, and so everything you hear on there, the good, bad, and ugly, any mistakes, it's just all there. If the timing changes, because it just changed. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much what happened is what happened. So
Wow. Well, and it sounds like there was a lot of things that were unanticipated. What do you think was your biggest surprise in putting this together?
um yeah, biggest surprise. I think again, when I got down there, I had an idea how we had arrangements and how all the songs were going to go. But once we got down there, I've learned that when you surround yourself with good creative musicians, especially the ones from New Orleans, because you got to think these guys play 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 gigs a day from morning till
Hmm.
sun up. I mean, all day they're just playing gigs, whether it's on the street or in a bar or whatever. And they're just so creative. So when you pull them in, it's just I don't know. It's just you got to let them go. In other words, these are not guys that you say do this, do that, don't do this. I learned real quick just to keep my mouth shut and let it happen. And that's what happened.
Very
So
cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Did so for you, I mean, you mentioned a lot of the songs there, and again, it was hard for me and when I'm talking to friends and such and saying, "Hey, check this out." I don't always say that it's my favorite song off the album. For me, it's like, "Hey, if you listen to this, then you're going to really love the rest of the record." And so I call it the calling card. Do you have on this album, do you have a song that you would point people to, especially people who haven't heard of you before, and say, "Hey, if you like this song, you're going to really dig the rest of the record"?
Um. Oh man, it's kind of crazy because if it's somebody that likes just old school blues, like then of course damned if I do. Which that song was not even supposed to be on there because we were warming up with it, and Jon comes out of the engineering booth and he walks over there, um, and he grabs the guitar. He said, "Man, we need to lay that down." And I'm like now? He said, "Yeah." He said, "The tape's rolling. It's all reel to reel." And so what you heard was pretty much a one take, and James was on the horn, and I remember Jon was kind of directing everything. He told um, uh, James he said, "Man, just think Howlin' Wolf, and then we messed around with just a little bit of it, and then bam, we laid it down, and it just came together. So as far as old school blues, that would be the one. But I would say out of all the songs, as far as it being well written and put together, would probably be Too Much and Not Enough, Not Enough and Too Much.
Mhm.
And the thing about that song has been with me for 25 years. Well, not the
Wow.
song, but the concept. And I'm
Hmm.
not even sure why I came up with it, but it was too much, too much and not enough, not enough, too much, not enough of your. I didn't know where it was going until we were setting up for a gig, and the drummer was just playing this beat, a beat I'd heard before. It's just kind of a, but he was doing it, and it just kind of like hit me, and I grabbed the guitar and I started playing this groove. It was just like boom, boom, boom. It was that simple, and the whole song started just coming to me. I mean, I'm like running off, and I'm like typing stuff in my phone, writing stuff down, and because then I knew it was like it's too much and not enough, not enough. Too much, not enough of your love is killing me. And
Mm-hmm.
and so that one there, like I said, it just a good song that just kind of follows you around. It never
Mm-hmm.
really leaves you. And then when it's time, when that door opens, it comes running in, and that's when it did. And so that, and the thing is, when you listen to the song, there's a lot of space. It's just, a matter of fact, I had my mind in my mind. I'm thinking horns and B3 and all this stuff going on. And John's like, he said, you don't need horns on everything. And I was like, and he was right because we had Rob Davis. I mean, he was playing the upright piano, and he's just killing it. He was just over there. I mean, just listen to it. That's like the main instrument on the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that one to me, that song just I don't know. Again, I know it. Rob brings the New Orleans to it. It's more kind of on the blues rock side. But Rob, when when he got a hold of it, he started throwing that New Orleans tickle on it, and
Yeah.
it kind of brought it home. But no horns or nothing, so it's a little different than everything. But I really like that song, and I played it out, and people seem to really love it.
What is the feedback you're getting on it on the album so far?
Well, it hasn't even really released yet. It's where I've started
Right.
already. I put a few things out on Facebook, whatever, and people are liking what they hear. Um, so it releases on February the 21st, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and then we'll really start pushing it, and then
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens from there.
Well, I tell you, one of the songs I point to as a calling card for you off of this album was "Here She Comes." I just love the sound. I love how
Oh
what
yeah,
it does, all that. So it's a
that,
fun song. But
no,
so
and that one thing about that one is, and something to make a note of that I thought was really cool when John went to mix down. I'm so used to like somebody pulling up a computer screen and messing around with some effects.
doing the
He
Pro
would do
Tools and
that.
such.
He would run it back through the tape, and he could speed the tape up and mess around with the two preamps, and he could bring the vocal to the edge and maybe the treble or add a little reverb on it. But he did it all with tape, and it was you know so, and you'll hear a little bit on the vocals on that song there. Not he didn't do it on all of them, but on that one he did. But I guess in his he thought it called for it. But yeah,
I tell you that,
that's a good song. Just a good groove.
yeah. From what I understand, I've been in the recording studio watching once or twice, but from what I understand, tape is it's almost a lost art now, everybody, because everybody's gone so digital. But that warmth, I mean, I remember Joe Walsh, I think it was his last solo album. He went to, and in fact, he named the album Analog Man. So he just went
Really,
straight
I
on
got to hear that.
analog. Oh, it's
Really,
great. Yeah, go. It's called Analog Man. I think it came out about 10 or so years ago. And he just wanted to record the tape. He didn't want all this digital Pro Tools stuff.
that is
He
great.
wanted the
I'm definitely going
warmth.
to take that.
He wanted the warmth of tape, that's for sure. Well, hey, what's on your radar for the rest of the year? What you got going as far as are you going to tour? Do you got any big gigs coming up? What you have going on
Yeah,
in
yeah.
support
I
of
mean,
this?
well, I got stuff coming up. We got stuff with Mac always, and then I'm working on some of my own stuff. It's in the works, and hopefully get down to Florida and up north, and hopefully back to Europe, maybe in the probably late fall, winter time. So we're working on
Oh,
a lot of
cool.
stuff.
Well,
So
very cool.
yep,
Great, great. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun, Max. I'm glad we finally got to meet. And let just know my door is always open to you. I love your work. I love your sound, all of it. And if you got anything coming up, just let me know. And especially if you're working with Mark, he's a good guy, man. You picked a great one to work with, especially in this
yeah, man.
genre. He's
Yeah, I just
he's
follow his lead. Follow his lead. He's great.
He knows what he's. I follow his lead too. I can tell in his emails, hey, if you considered this one, and it's like, hey, I'm not even going to argue. It's to a
Yeah,
point where when he asks me if I want to interview somebody, I just know I better.
yeah.
So
Yeah, well,
because
and I tell you too, I want to just say this too in this during this whole thing is I don't know if you know Pete. They call him Blues Man Pete. You know, Married for Music. He
Hmm.
kind of helped. You know, he set me in the right because I was like, man, I'm getting ready. I'm doing this. I wasn't sure which direction to go in. Um, he sent me to Sally and Deborah Clark with it's Nola Blues, but it's also Mojo Records, and
Right.
they've been a help. They have they've just put everything right in place, and made sure I was on track as far as doing the release and doing it properly. So between
Hmm.
them, they turned me on to Mark Pookie and Michelle Castilla. They're doing the radio promo, and so it's
Hmm.
just good to have a team around you, working because you can't do it all yourself.
No, if you try, it won't get anywhere near to where it needs to be. So that's,
That's it.
but hey, my door is always open to you, Max, and look forward to maybe if you're this way, I can catch one of your gigs or something. So if you hit Knoxville, Chattanooga, or out next time over, I'm over in South Carolina, which may be sooner rather than later.
Yep.
I'll see if you're gigging somewhere, and I'll drop in and say hey to you.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Sounds good. Stay
All right.
safe, and we'll be chatting again down the road.
All right. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate
All
it,
right.
brother.
Take care, buddy. All right. Bye bye. This has been another stellar episode of Boomerocity with your host, producer, and friend, Randy Patterson. The theme music is Roll the Dice by our good friend Quentin Hope, and all rights reserved and used by permission, of course. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected, so all segments may only be used with written consent by Boomerocity and or its assignees. You should direct your inquiries to input@boomerocity.com, and the copyright is 2025.